Professor Marc Henry, we talked about entropy, quantum mechanics, and about the fossil concepts in science and how it's actually a handicap in making progress in science. But you were very clear that entropy and quantum mechanics are crucial to understand life, and quantum mechanics in general are or is the concept or the approach to understand nature. What is your opinion on what the next steps in science have to be and need to be taken?
The next step. There is no next step. Everything is here. Because the steps have already been done. For instance, the entropy concept was clear by Ludwig Boltzmann at the end of the 19th century. The quantum mechanics formalism was cleared up in 1930. So the good question is why, as things have been clear so a long time ago, why we are still struggling with these fossil concepts that are matter, and energy. There is nothing new. For going ahead, we did not new things. We just need to take the things as they are and make the fossil concept aside to focus on not new, but old interesting things that has been ignored until now. So the next step is just to clean the house. We have to clean it. But if we look in physics, it's clearly clear because they have already done the job. In chemistry, not so much. They made a part of the job, but they still remain things to be clear. But in biology and medicine, nothing has been done. So it's at this level that people should be conscious that a good medicine should be rooted in physics, not in biology.
And biology should be rooted in physics as well.
Of course. But we cannot, as soon as we continue to use this old fossil concept, we will make no progress. Or even worse, we will regress. We have seen that in the 2 years that we are living. We are in 2022, and if you see what happens before 2019, we have regress. And because in nature, if you don't progress, you regress, because nature as a whole progress. So you need to be in the same movement of progression. If you just say, no, I don't want to change, you stay at the same level. As nature goes ahead, you become regress. So it is not only a matter of going to new horizon, it's overcome by nature, which is always for the future. So this is a challenge of our time. Are we ready to go ahead, or are you Are we ready to stay just here and wait? But I really think that there's nothing new to discover. Everything has been clear, and the only point is to make cleaning. That should be done. Cleaning.
So integrating what we know.
Yeah. And if we do the job, it will be okay. We have new medicine, we have new way of healing, because we are now on the right track and not on the bad one.
Where exactly was the regression for you the last 2 years? What exactly
The regression was that science has been perverted. That is to say, what we have seen in the 2 previous years is that everybody as the word science, say, oh, this is science, science says, science, science, science. But that was not science. That was religion, beliefs, not science. Because in belief, in science, you don't say, I believe. You say, I observe. And as I observe, I know that what I am observed is not the true reality. The reality is behind in the fields. But I know that the field exists. And so what I observe is just the consequences of fields which are interacting. But it's not the real message that was given to everybody in the past 2 years. It was a completely different message. It was a message from the 19th century. That is to say, we know what we are doing, and we can master the epidemics. We are the masters. No. So this was for me a regression in terms of scientific, from a scientific viewpoint, it was a regression, not a progress. But of course, not everybody was on this ground. There was people who were clever enough to see that all these 2 past years are just craziness. We were crazy. And it's not very difficult to restore a coherent way of thinking. For instance, if you take just the idea of putting a mask on the mouth, it is written on every box that this mask doesn't prevent you from infection and viruses. It is written. But this was not the message that was given by the government and by all the people who were in charge of our health. In fact, they were not in charge of our health, they were in charge of making that the society as we know it will go on, but not of our health. If they were in charge of our health, they will say, oh, we have homeopathy, we have informed water, we have several ways, and we will have no more vaccine, because vaccines are chemicals, are drugs. It's not the right way of, if you understand what all I've been said in this yesterday and today, it's not the right way of fighting, because viruses, if they exist, they are not here to kill you. They are here to make you make evolution. Because we all know that in your DNA, there is about at most 5%, which concern humans. All the other amount of information in DNA concern viruses and bacteria. And we carry them in our DNA. Because viruses, their role is to take a species and to make it goes ahead, make evolution. And it's through viruses that we have evolutions. Because they change our DNA. And if you change the DNA, you change the species. That's the role of virus, not to get you ill. That's crazy. Viruses are useful. And they appear as soon as you don't want to change. But that's my interpretation, of course. At the light of what is entropy, what is information, and so on.
When you look back the last 150 years on what has happened historically in science, starting with Maxwell up to, let's say, Feynman, who are your personal scientific heroes last 150 years, 170 years?
This is a difficult question because there are plenty of them. I would say, of course, Prigogine, Ilya Prigogine, which was a very clever man. Of course, a man which is not known, but which was a very clever also, it was Edward T. James, which really put the entropy concept on the right track. So, and Prigogine, James, I think Heisenberg was really interesting, more than Schrödinger.
Edinburgh?
Heisenberg. Mm-hmm. Planck, of course, but this is a mummy, very old. If we take for younger people, I would say that in biology, in medicine, not very much people. Most are physicists, but there is one guy which was involved in biology and which was very on the right track. It was Saint Georgi, Albert Szent-Györgyi, which was awarded the Nobel Prize for vitamin C. He was on the right track because he was always speaking about water.
Who wrote an important book about water?
Yeah, and I think it was the only one, maybe Pauling, because Pauling was in physics and also in biology. And by the way, it was also vitamin C. But there are very few in biology and medicine who really understand what was life and the challenge. And of course, all the people who are involved in what we call today molecular biology, crazy people, because they all work with matter, with things which is an illusion, so there is nothing very important. Maybe technical advance. See, we have more sophisticated tools, but not knowledge. We are more powerful tools. They were technicians more than scientists. The real science, everything has been closed and finished in 1930. From the conceptual viewpoint, new ideas. Everything has been cleared and was fine in 1930. After, we have a very huge technical progress in technology, but not in science. No progress in science, just more sophisticated technical machines. So, okay, we have now the computers, we have internet. But these are machines, not science, technology. And one thing I know that we cannot make a confusion between technology and science, because technology needs science to be efficient. But science doesn't not need technology. You can make science without any technological goal. The reverse is not true. You have no technology if you have no science. And I think that is the problem of what happens today. We have replaced science by technology. And this should change. Make science important again.
What do you think about Erwin Chagall?
Who?
Erwin Chagall.
Erwin
Chagall, Austrian chemist actually, who was from Czernowitz, and he prepared the work for discovering the DNA. Erwin Chagall at the Rockefeller University.
No,
he identified les nucléotides.
Nucleotide?
Adenosine, guanosine, etc.
Yeah, but that's molecular biology.
Yeah, that was one of the founding fathers of molecular biology.
No, I'm really fascinated by great men that were doing science, not technology. It is Max Planck, Szent-Györgyi, Janes, Prigogine, but not for people who always speak about molecules and atoms, which are fossil concepts. We should go much farther than that. Matter doesn't exist. Of course, Feynman was on the right track also, but with Feynman we have trouble because he was always joking. So with Feynman we never knows if he's just joking or if it's really truth. But I think it was on the right track also.
What about Bohm? David
Bohm, yeah, Bohm was also nice. But again, he had trouble with, he really want to make realistic quantum physics. That is to say, the interpretation of that matter doesn't exist, and I'm not sure that Bohm was quite okay with that. There was one which was really not okay, it's Einstein. That's clear. For Einstein, the idea that when I close the eye, the moon disappears. So, but Bohm has interesting ideas. Yeah.
You said yesterday something that resonates still in my mind is when you go and push science, you always end up with philosophical questions.
Yeah.
What are the main philosophical questions for you?
What is life? Why I am here? This is a very hard question. I am here for eating, sleeping, and having pleasure. Or as I am here for something quite different from eating, sleeping, and drinking. When you look at some of your other humans, you ask them the question, why are you here? For instance, you take Elon Musk, Bill Gates, all these men who have a huge amount of money. Why are you here? I'm not sure that will give you an answer. Well, the answer will be, I am here for making money. That's an answer. But I'm not sure that in nature, making money is something that is satisfies you. Because we all know that when we are making money, we have plenty of money, but we are, very often, it's very boring. Because once you are going to every palace that you have slept in the most beautiful hotel, that you have you have yacht for, and after. These people are just, they dream to going to the moon. And when they will be on the moon, they will go to Mars. They will never be happy. Because they have not the answer to the question, why I am here. This is a philosophical question. It was, there is an answer in Greece. It was written, and the answer was written, gnoti theoton. know yourself. And everybody should ask this question, why I am here? And if I am here, how I can have a knowledge of who I am. But not a knowledge from who I am when I look in the mirror, an image, who I am from the inside, from the ether. Because if you take the numbers, you are made of 99% of ether and just about 1% of matter, what we call matter and fields. And 99% of yourself is just vacuum and ether. So there is a very simple answer to this question, why I am here. I am here to increase the consciousness of the nature of the universe. At my level, but what I am doing, I can increase the consciousness of the whole universe, or the entropy. And that's okay. But I'm not sure that it will be the answer for Bill Gates. So of course, this philosophical question comes only when you are old. You cannot have this question at 20. At 20, you have other things in mind. You have girls, you have pleasures. But when you are old, of course, this question becomes important. If you don't bring answer, you are not in well-being. If you can give answer, it's okay.
When you say it's actually all there, we just need to apply and integrate what we have learned and clear up the science. It's very unlikely this is going to happen in the universities because we have the knowledge already sitting there for more than 100 years, almost 100 years.
No, it will not happen in university because in university this is a museum where we exhibit for science. So it cannot be there, of course. It should be in laboratories. We are doing research. And the fact that these laboratories are engaged with university may be not good news, because university will always go to the past, to the fossil. So maybe the future in the laboratories which are independent from university. And there are plenty of guys that work in their garage, in their house for making new things. The future is here, I think. We will see.
I sometimes think about the great healers in the history of mankind, and Jesus Christ is one of the great healers for me. So, from everything you have discussed about entropy and quantum mechanics, matter doesn't exist. What would be your perception of a very evolved human being like Jesus Christ?
Yes, we are not in science, so...
That's not about science.
Yeah, we are more in religion, so... As you know, science and religion is not a little bit antagonist. Because in religion, we ask you to believe. In science, we don't ask people to believe. We have the facts, we have the theories, we have the equations. And it is not a matter of belief, it's just a matter of how amount of work you are ready to make for understanding. This is not what is said in religion. You say just, it's like this and believe.
Well, let me reformulate the question. If you have a human being who has gone through a maximum of healing, and thus is a very evolved human being, because on, let's say, there are maximum of coherent domains on the membrane level, and he can connect with the universal consciousness, what would that actually, what could that look like? You think it would result in a morphological change of the human being? would there be certain capacities emerging?
I have some difficulty to follow you here. What do you mean exactly?
Well, we talk about entropy and how important entropy flux is to heal. Let's say somebody has the perfect entropy flux. So there wouldn't be any disease.
I think that a healer has no perfect entropy flux. He is able to deblock, to remove the dams that you have put. It has this ability or this capacity to do that. But in terms of entropy flux, himself is not like the other. I'm not sure that they are very special.
Let's take a human being who has gone through healing and has the perfect entropy flux.
There is no perfect entropy flux. The notion of perfection is not...
A maximum of entropy flux.
Not maximum, it's an optimum.
Optimum.
It should be not too small, not too high.
So let's call it the optimized entropy flux.
Yeah, and so on.
So how would that look like? What would a super healthy person then look like?
I don't understand what you mean.
Well, you can be very sick and you have got pain and have all sorts of symptoms. But when you improve the entropy flux to optimize the entropy flux, then all these sufferings would disappear.
Yes, and so what?
So, and if you optimize the entropy flux, would there be new qualities emerge?
I don't think so, no. You would just be at the optimum, so why you want to have new things? Because everything is known. We have consciousness, we have information, we have water.
Well, we could say that somebody who has got the optimized entropy flux would become more intuitive.
What you could do is increase your level of consciousness.
Well, that would be a way to...
It is to say, if entropy fluxes are blocked, you will have stagnation in consciousness. Because you are ill,
right?
And this prevents you from going ahead with consciousness. But if now the entropy is flowing freely in an optimum way, not maximum, optimum way, then your level of consciousness will increase with time.
So level
this is what every human being should aim to do. Now he is here for increasing the level of consciousness of its individuality. And by increasing its level of consciousness, he increases the level of consciousness of other people in order that the whole consciousness of the universe increase.
Well, that's a very good answer, I would say, to increase the level of consciousness.
Yeah, but that's the only answer that I can bring to your questions. I see no other answers. And for me, it was so obvious that I was not clearly seeing what we were meaning. But for me, it's obvious that we have to increase our consciousness level, either as an individuality or as a species, because you have to work on both levels. But, no, of course, on the level species, we have to pass by individuals. If there are some individuals which refuse to increase their consciousness level, because they want to make war, make money, and this is not an increase in consciousness. The more money you have, the less consciousness you have, because this is a kind of undetermination relationship between money and consciousness. Or we know that with money you can go to war, so kill people. When you kill other human beings, either with a gun or by signing a paper, and you say, oh, you should kill him, your level of consciousness not very high.
That joins the question, why are we here?
Yeah.
To increase the
We
level
are
of consciousness.
here to increase our level of consciousness, to correct, or we have made errors in the past. We have to we have to be conscious of these errors, to correct them and to have a better way of life in the future. Not to reproduce the same errors again and again.
When I was at the very last year of my medical studies, I attended a seminar in homeopathy, and it was a very weird thing. So I didn't believe in that at all. But at the end of the seminar, I bought 3 bottles, actually 4 bottles, 3 remedies and 1 placebo, and I asked the pharmacist to cover all the labels. And so I choose one of the bottles, and I did what's called the proving. And after the 3rd day, I was so irritable that I decided to stop it and took up the label, and I saw it. Something was in it. It was chamomilla. So this was a huge issue for me over many, many years, because at university I was taught that something highly diluted cannot work because there is no substance in it. What do you say to people who say that homeopathy is nonsense?
I will say that are not well informed. This is a matter of information. And of course, we have to enlarge the debate with homeopathy. Just one point. Behind homeopathy, you have water memory. Are you ready to accept the idea that water, and I don't mean pure water, what I've called morphogenic water. Are you ready to accept that morphogenic water can store information? This is the basic point. Because if you don't accept this, of course, homeopathy cannot work. Because homeopathy is based on the fact that we are made of water, and water is made of, according to quantum physics, for coherence domains, and the coherence domains may hold informations. And so if you are not on this way of thinking, this is nonsense, homeopathy. Because the only thing which you rely is matter. Because when you see as the opponent of homeopathy, say, oh, there is no more matter. Yeah. What's the trouble? Because matter doesn't exist. This is not a problem. Because if you don't have matter, you have information. If you don't have information, you may have light, electromagnetism. There are so much phenomena that are not linked with matter, that the fact that we make dilutions and that we have no more matter of the starting substance, so what? And this is where we can say a few words about Samuel Hahnemann, which was the man who, I don't know if he has invented homeopathy, but he has developed this concept. And fortunately, he has developed this concept before the time where we think that matter exists. Because at the time of Hahnemann, it was very clear. It was the doctrine of Paracelsus. Paracelsus was saying that, okay, we have material things, but we have, he says, we have salt, sulfur, and mercury, which were physical principle. But he said to this trinity, we can associate a spiritual trinity, which was soul, body, and mind. For Paracelsus, it was evident that there was material things and non-material things. And when Hahnemann read Paracelsus, he just say, okay, as the medicine is, it was in 1792, about 2 centuries ago. He said, okay, you have people who are ill, you get them arsenic, you drain blood, and you have bad humors, so that was awful medicine. Because people, when they say you will vomit, you will be the blood, will be bleeding, and will give you arsenic. You should be motivated to go to a physician. And Hahnemann say, okay, if I take the Paracelsus view, I work with salt, sulfur, and mercury as principle. But now you have the other trinity. And Hahnemann say, what happens if I make a solicitation of this trinity, which is immaterial? Of course, he was not knowing that he was speaking about information, vacuum, and ether. It was not this term, but for him it was clear that a body was more than just a mass of matter. You have the mind, you have the soul, and he say, what happens when I dilute? Of course, I remove the matter, and I am more in line with something which is the soul of the mind. And this could be healing also. This was the idea. And it was not a crazy idea because it was rooted, we know this now, in quantum physics. He was making quantum physics without knowing this science. Yeah. So it is very strange that this homeopathic, the practice of homeopathy, when you were in the 19th century, it was the best medicine that you can have. And we have still examples that it was a very good medicine because every noble people, they were always using homeopathy. If you take the Queen of England, she only knows one medicine, it was homeopathy. If you take John Davidson Rockefeller, which make for much money with petrol, oil, he want only to be healed with homeopathy. Homeopathy was the most advanced medicine. And now we are people in the 20th and 21st century, we say homeopathy is bullshit. Bullshit. And so when there was cholera in Europe, it was treated by homeopathy, not with drugs, because there was no drugs. But homeopathy works. Why do we have forgot all this past of medicine to just focus on a medicine which can be dated to 1990? It is called EBM, evidence-based medicine. That you have to say to have the right to heal somebody, you have to prove that something works. But proving is not in medicine. You cannot prove anything with medicine. You can heal, but not prove. Proof is a mathematical concept in the mind. You will never prove anything by making experiment. The notion of proof, of evidence, is not something which should be put in medicine. We don't care about evidence. What we care is that we have somebody which is in bad shape and we want him to feel better. Whatever the mental activity, the mental process that we can put and why we have succeeded. It is not important to know why we have succeeded. The basic point is that we have succeeded, whatever the reason. And if we can heal with drugs and if we can heal with the mind, there is no trouble. We want that people get better. And this was very clear in the past 2 years. People say, no, you cannot use this substance because it's not proved. What is the problem of using a substance if you get a better health condition? before COVID-19, no problem, you can use substance. But then we discover that now there are people that think, no, medicine you should prove. And this is not correct. And they, of course, they say homeopathy has to prove that it works. No, homeopathy has not to prove. It has to show that it works. And I think that if you just show that it works, homeopathy has shown for 2 centuries that it works. Of course, it has not proved in the sense of modern evidence-based medicine. Double, random trial, experiment, this stuff. I think that when you are a human being and you say, oh, you are in bad shape, okay, so you will go to this group. You are bad shape also, you will go to this group. Why 2 groups? Because both are in bad shape. But you decide, that this one will go to this group, and this one will go to this group. And nobody will know to which group he is belonging. Only a man with a suit will decide that you will be to this group, you will be in this group. And then after, to this group, we will give a potential remedy, and to the other one, we will give a placebo. What does that mean? If you are really in bad shape, that in this group you will have a chance to survive, in this group you will be sure to be die. Is it correct? From an ethical point of view, human point of view? It could be correct from a scientific point of view, because you want to understand. But you are dealing with people, not with beakers. And so the very idea that we should have blind, double-blind studies is scientifically correct, but humanly not incorrect. But it should be, you cannot do that. Even with animals, even with plants, even with bacteria, because when you look quantum physics, consciousness is everywhere. A bacteria has a level of consciousness. Of course, it is very small, relative to you human, but it has a level of consciousness. You cannot make such discrimination, and I will heal you and not you, just to satisfy my mind that I understand how the drugs works. That's a crazy idea. And this is the idea that we have today in medicine. If you are right with IBM, it's okay. If you are not right with IBM, they say that this is nonsense, charlatanism. And so we have to rehabilitate homeopathy. Homeopathy is a science, it's for healing. You can get better with homeopathy. And even if there is no double-blind study, it's not a problem, because we have plenty of examples where people are getting better after taking an homeopathic remedy. And of course, the only maybe unsatisfying point that we have with homeopathy is that we have to dilute and to remove the substance of the mother solution. We have to remove it. But of course, on one part, it's mandatory, because this substance on the mother solution is toxic. It's a poison, usually. So it's better to remove it before making the administration. And then after, you have another problem. Of course, you remove this toxic substance. But if you stick to the water memory concept, you have removed what you call matter, but you have kept the information and the coherence in the coherence domains that are on the nanobubbles. And this is the reason why when you look at the process of making homeopathic remedies, there is a critical step
Yeah.
If you don't
Dynamize.
dynamize or mix very strongly, the remedy doesn't work. Why? Because now from the theory we know that for getting coherence domain, for storing information, we need gas in water. If you have not gas, you will have no coherence domain. So if you are making dilution and just add water without shaking, you will have the water but not the gas. And it will not work. Now, if you are adding water and shaking, we have the water and the gas, morphogenic water, and the memory. That is to say, you will keep the information, the frequency spectrum of the matter, what you call the matter, but not the substance. And of course, as you work with the information, it has the same effect as using the whole matter, that is as the substance which is associated to this information. Because the information is stored by the matter, and the dilution process allows you to select among the whole spectrum of frequency which frequencies will be interesting for making this receptor being activated. Because one receptor, you have a good spectrum, you should have some frequencies that should be used and not other ones. And the dilution process allows you to select in a whole frequency spectrum what will be the right one that will be the most efficient to activate the receptor or to inhibit it. It depends on what you want to do. So here today, we have all the explanation on how homeopathy may work. We have explanation. We don't work with matter, with substance, we work with information. But that's not a problem, because we have the physics, quantum physics, which tell us that information is more important. Fields, information are more important than the particles that are generated by the field, that are just ephemeric particles that are created and destroyed very quickly. You destroy the matter, but you keep the coherence. And I was very happy because when you go to university and you say water memory, you're dead. Just because you say water memory in university. But now you go to the theater, movies, Walt Disney. It's not science. You take, I will say it in French, La Reine des Neiges, 2. Not the first one, the second one. You have a fiction, it's a fiction, Walt Disney Studios, and you have a snowman, which is called Olaf. You have a carrot as a nose, and he's made of ice. And he says in the movie, there is a lot of people who are not okay with this concept, but it is true. He was speaking about it is in the sequence that where we see the princess. She doesn't know how her parents, they are dead, but she don't know the circumstances of the death. And so she asked to the water molecules of the carpet to gather and to see what happens. Water memory. Walt Disney. It's okay for Walt Disney. Why it is okay for Walt Disney? Because he knows there is good science behind. And so for everybody which says, homeopathy, water memory, it's rubbish. Just be informed. Read the papers. You will see that it is not rubbish. Because Walt Disney put this in his movies. He built a story on water memory. And you know, when Walt Disney make a movie, it's not 10 people which it's billions of people. So if you have something in a Walt Disney movie, it should be something which is well documented. So we are at this strange time where we see the truth in the movie and in the university we get false idea, fossil concept. That's crazy. So no, homeopathy is a real medicine. I would say that in fact it is a real clever medicine. Or if you don't like homeopathy, you go to informed water. You can make information into morphogenic water and you can heal people with this. No, there is no trouble with such, I don't know what to call them, alternative medicine or complementary medicine. That is, say, medicine where we don't use chemicals and drugs. Everything is okay. Because even if you work with your hands by putting just the hands, you have infrared radiation from your hand. And so you have an effect, physical. Of course, it is not a material effect. It is a light effect. But you cannot say, oh, I just put the hand and nothing can happen. Because you interact. You are a field. The doctor, physician is a field. You have the people which is in bad shape, which is a field, and two fields comes into contact and things happens. So we should be much more tolerant towards other way of releasing pain in people. And of course this is true for little illnesses, but it should be true for cancer, for AIDS, for malaria, which are very problematic disease. We can attack this disease with information and water. It could be very efficient. And this is not charlatanism, this is just using the tools that nature are giving to you in their full capacity. You can use drugs, you can use information. All depends on how it will be received by the guy which is in front of you. Some will be in better shape by receiving information, water. Others will be in better shape by receiving drugs. But the idea that everybody should receive drugs is craziness. You have to select a set of tools and you have a body in front of you. Oh, now we use this tool. Then you have another body. Oh no, not this tool, this one. This is the way medicine should be done. I have tools, I have people, and to each people, one tool corresponds. But saying that one tool should correspond to all the people is not correct. You should have several tools. Some tools should be drugs, chemicals. Some tools should be light. Some tools should be water. Some tools should even be information. Blah, 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 blah. This information. And blah, 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 blah. You can heal by the words. Or it could be consciousness. They call this placebo effect. Whatever the name, whatever the tool, we want that people get in better health. That should be the main aim of medicine. Not trying to have evidence that your ideas are correct and are proven. That craziness. So we are here, and I hope that this video will make some physician give them consciousness that we have several tools for healing people, and why not use the whole set of tools and not just a very small subset.
Thank you.